Hi dears, good morning all. Today we are going to study about Mughal administration. Okay, in the last class we discussed the important features related with the Sultanate rule. Okay, so today we can see there are some similarities in the features of or in the administration policies of both Sultanate and Mughal administration. Okay, so in your previous classes you studied that there was a famous Afghan ruler who came to our country and who established a Mughal dynasty. Anybody know who was that great person? Yes, it was Babur. Okay. So we can say Babur was the founder of which dynasty? Mughal dynasty. Then Babur defeated the last Sultanate ruler. Then who was that ruler? Yes, it was Ibrahim Lodi. It was Ibrahim Lodi. Then, do you remember which year that? Yes, the year was 1526. Okay, so Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi in which year? 1526, and he established a famous dynasty in our country. The dynasty was Mughal dynasty. Okay, and so many rulers who ruled Mughal dynasty, and some of them were very famous one, and they implemented various policies or various ideas in their own country for the development of both their country and both the people. Okay, so today we can discuss what are the important features of Mughal dynasty. Then you know that have you heard about Abul Fazl? Yes, who was that? Yeah, okay, he was one of the famous courtier of Mughal Empire. Okay, and there was a famous work written by Abul Fazl. Can you remember the name of that book? Yes, what's that? Okay, very good. It was Akbarnama. Okay, so from this book, he wrote two important books, that is Akbarnama and Aini Akbari, that you studied in a lower class. I think it may be in 6th standard. Okay, so he wrote that famous work, and by observing or by reading that book, we can easily understand the important features of Mughal administration. Okay, so first of all, we can study what are the policies implemented by the Mughal rulers for the development of their political power. Okay, so we can compare the features of Mughal administration and Sultanate rule. Okay, so what was the first policy implemented by the Sultanate rules? Do you remember that? In the last class we studied that. Okay, they considered their power as divine right power. Okay, what's the meaning of that? Yes, king is the all in all, or we can say king is the almighty, or he is just equal to God, or he is a person just as like a God. Okay, so these people, that means the Mughal rulers also believed in divine right theory. Okay, so please note the point, divine right theory. That means the Mughal rulers believed that they were the peculiar people, and they sent as a representative of the God to the country or to the earth to rule the country or to implement the words of the God. Okay, so that's the meaning of a divine right theory. Then what was the second point in the Sultanate ruling system? Anybody remember that? Yes, what's that? Okay, Turkish tradition. Then next one we discussed this point. Okay, divine right. So we can discuss this point. Turkish tradition, and the Mughal people believed Turkish tradition and one more tradition, that is Mongol tradition. Mongol tradition. In your earlier classes you studied about the famous ruler of Mongolia. Then who was that? Was that? Yes, it was Genghis Khan. Okay, you studied that. So Genghis Khan also believed divine right theory. That means he advised the people of his own country that he was sent from the part of the God as a representative of God to implement the words or ideas or policies of the God. So he is a representative of God. So no one has the right to deny the words of Genghis Khan. Okay, so that tradition or that system is known as Mongol tradition. Okay, so we can see that Mongol tradition and Turkish tradition more or less equal. So the Mughal administrators or Mughal rulers also believed in this tradition. That means they believed that they are just equal, or they are as a representatives of God, and they are the almighty of the country, and they are the great person. That means no one has the right to deny the words of the king. That means all people must obey what the king say, or what the king is asking to do to their subjects. Clear? So it is the second important feature of Mughal dynasty. So first one, they believed, the rulers believed in divine right theory, and they followed Turkish and Mongolian tradition. Okay, then we can see that the Sultanate rulers, they divided their country into different sections, and they implemented different types of officers to help the king to rule in the local sections of their country. Likewise, the Mughal rulers also, they had implemented, or they had so many officers in their own country, and each and every officer must help the king at any time the king wanted. Okay, so we can see that so many officials or ministers helped the king whenever the king need any help. Okay, so it is another important feature. Then next one, you studied the Sultanate rulers, they divided their country into different sections for local administration, or to make the country more effective, or to implement their administrative system more effective. Likewise, the Mughal rulers also, they divided their country into different sections. Okay, so divisions, we can write that they divided the country into different divisions or different parts. So these are the important features. First one, then they followed Turkish and Mongolian tradition. Next one, so many officials or ministers were there to protect or to help or to advise the king, and they divided the country into different sections for making the administration more effective. Okay, so all of you please note this point. Over. Now we can study about the local administration. Local administration. Now we seen that the king divided the country into different sections, okay, or different divisions. And which are the divisions? I am going to write here. All of you listen here. First division, it was Subas, not Sabha but Suba. Then next one, Sarkar. Then next one, Pargana. Okay, then next one, village. So these are the important local divisions of the country by the Mughal rulers. So first one, Subas. Next one, Sarkar. Next one, Pargana. Next one, village. Okay, so all these were under the control of different nobles, or we can say different sections of the people, and they had some particular duty in their own places, their own particular regions. In the Sultanate rule also, we studied the local administration. The country was divided into different categories, and there are also different officers to rule that particular region. Okay, then can you remember what were the important duties of that people? Then that point you can also add here. So please say what were that points. Yes, first one, okay, maintain army. Yes, very good. To maintain army. Next one, what's that? Okay, maintain law and order. Law and order. Then next one, collection of, okay, collection of tax. Collection of tax. Okay, then listen here. These are the important divisions of local administration. First one, Subba, then Sarkar, then Pargana, then village. Okay, so many officers were there to rule or to control all these places, and they had some particular duties. Which are they? to keep or to maintain army because Mughal administration, their important power was they had a well-equipped army. Okay, so to maintain army, it is the important or great burden for each and every government or each and every ruler. So they divided their country into different sections, and each section has their own leaders. So it is their duty to maintain their own army. The next one, to maintain law and order. The next one, collection of tax. Okay, so these are the important features of their local administration. Clear? Okay, so please note over. Now we are going to study about Akbar. We know that so many great rulers ruled the Mughal dynasty, but among them the famous person or the famous ruler was Akbar. Okay, so we can study or we can discuss what are the important policies adopted by Akbar to get the support of the people. Akbar always tried to implement so many programs, and that programs aimed to get the support of the people. Okay, so what was his important activities, or what are the important programs he implemented in his own country? First one, he accepted a particular title that is known as Badshah-e-Hind. Please note the point. Badshah-e-Hind. The meaning is that the Emperor of India. Okay, so he accepted a particular title or a particular nickname. The name was that Badshah-e-Hind. Okay, then another important policy adopted by Akbar that to get ceremony, or that means harmony among different religions, and to get peace or to get joyful life in their own country among all sections of the people, he followed or he formulated or he created a new faith, or we can say a new religion. Its name was Deen Ilahi. Okay, so please note that Deen Ilahi. Deen Ilahi. So Deen Ilahi was a particular religion formulated by Akbar. Okay, so first he implemented or he got a particular title. It is known as Badshah-e-Hind. The next one, he formulated or he created a particular faith. It is known as Deen Ilahi. Okay, then another important policy adopted by Akbar in his own country was that he know that you have heard about Rajaputra group of people. Okay, that people were very brave one. Okay, so to get the support of that particular group of people, Akbar invited some of the great personalities among that group. That means some important Rajaputra people, and he gave some particular position in his own administration. Okay, among them, the important people who got some particular position in the court of Akbar was that Akbar one. First one, Birbal. You are very familiar with Birbal because so many stories related with Birbal you have already read in different storybooks. Okay, then first one Birbal. Next one, Raja Todarman. Raja Todarman. Raja Todarman. Then another important person was Man Singh. Okay, so these were the important Rajaputra leaders or Rajaputra people. They got some special position in the court of Akbar. Okay, because of this activity, he got the support of all these sections. That means the Rajaputra people. Then another important policy implemented by Akbar was that Akbar and his relatives, they married Rajaputra ladies. Okay, so we can write next point, marriage or married. That means they married Rajaputra ladies. Then another one, we already discussed that army. That means the Mughal people or Mughal rulers had a well-equipped army. So at any time, the Akbar or any other rulers, they get the support and protection from the army side. Okay, so to implement or to make more effective the army, Akbar used or Akbar adopted another policy. That means Akbar invited different sections of the people to join in the army. So people felt very happy because they got some prestigious position from the part of the king. So Akbar was ready to accept different sections of the people to include in his own army. Okay, so that is another policy implemented by Akbar to get the support of the people. So these are the important policies implemented by Akbar to get support and to develop the country. Okay, so which are the first one? He got a particular title, that is Badshah-e-Hind. What's the meaning? Emperor of India. Okay, the next one, Akbar created a new religion that is known as Deen Ilahi. Okay, next one, Akbar invited the Rajputra people, and some people got some particular position in the court of Akbar. Which were they? Who are that people? Birbal, Raja Todarmal, Mansingh, etc. Okay, the next one, king, and that means Akbar and his relatives, they married Rajputra ladies. Next one, Akbar created his army by inviting or by including different sections of the people in his own country. Okay, so these are the important policies adopted by Akbar for the development of his own reign or his own empire. So please note this. Over. Now we are going to study some more points related with Deen Ilahi. So, Deen Ilahi was a particular faith or religion implemented by Akbar. Okay, it's a new religion implemented by or created by Akbar. Then, the important feature of this religion was that there was no priest, there was no special priest. That means there was no moral leader to advise the people, those who believe this religion. Okay, then next one, there was no special sacred place. That means temple, mosque or like that. There was no such place. Okay, there was no particular place to pray with the God in the case of or in this religion. That means the Ilahi. Then next one, there was no special customs or rituals related with this religion. Okay, so there was no priest. All these 3 points, the answer is no. There was no priest, there was no sacred place, there was no customs, no rituals. Then we can say one more point, there was no special religious book also. Okay, so these are the important features of which religion? Deen Ilahi, created by Akbar. Then what's the use of this religion? That means Akbar always tried to get peace, then harmony or social or religious harmony like that. Okay, harmony, etc. from the part of the people. Okay, or we can say under a word that Akbar always created some unity among the people. So to create a unity among the people, he formulated this religion, that is Deen Ilahi. Okay, so in this section, there was no priest, there was no special place to say or to pray with God. There was no holy book for this religion, but there was one important thing. That means there was a group meeting, or we can say they conducted some special discussions, not all time, but there were continuous meeting or group discussion in a particular place. And in that meeting or in that particular discussion time, all people from different religions must come there. And they discuss their own the merits of their religion, and they finally will reach into a particular idea. That means by including the merits of all religions who joined in that particular meeting. Okay, so to conduct such a meeting, Akbar created an institution, or we can say a building. It is known as Ibadat Khana. Ibadat Khana. Okay, actually Ibadat Khana was not a religious place or not a place to pray with God, but it is we can say it is a public hall, or we can say it's an auditorium. For what purpose? To make some discussions about various religions. Okay, different types of religious people lived in the Mughal period in his own country or his own dynasty. So the important leaders belong to different regions came here and they conducted their own discussions, and finally they reach in some solutions or in some ideas. Okay, so that ideas they will add into which religion? This Deen Ilahi. Okay, it was the system about Deen Ilahi. Then Ibadat Khana, Akbar constructed its capital. Do you know which is the capital of Akbar? Anybody know? Yes, very good. It was Fatehpur Sikri. Okay, so please note this point. Fatehpur Sikri. Okay, so these are the important points related with the Deen Ilahi. Okay, so please note this. Over. Now we are going to study about the army of Akbar. Mansabdari system. Mansabdari system was a policy implemented by Akbar to improve the quality and quantity of his own army. Okay, so here you can see a particular word Mansab. Mansab is, or Mansab denotes a position. That means in his own country so many officers were there, and each official they had to keep some particular amount of soldiers, amount of horses under their control, and it is the duty of that particular officer to maintain food and accommodation of all these, maybe horse or maybe cavalry or maybe that soldier. Have you understood? Mansab is a particular rank in the case of or in the army section, and each Mansab had a particular duty to keep some particular number of horses or cavalry. Cavalry in Malayalam we can say Kudira Padayali. Okay, so it is the duty of each Mansab to keep a particular amount of soldier or horses under their control. Okay, then during this period there were 30 types of Mansabs there. That means 30 ranks are there under the control of Mughal army. That means sometimes a person is not so rich one, so that is why he can keep a little amount of horses or a little amount of cavalry under his control. But some other great people, they were very rich people, so they can keep more and more number of people and horses like that. Okay, so during this period there were 30 types of Mansabs existed, and the lowest Mansab keep 10 horses or 10 cavalry under his control, and the largest one it was 10,000. Okay, so a person who keep 10,000 cavalry or 10,000 soldiers under his control, he got the first rank in the case of Mansab. So because of that, we can easily understand by seeing the number of horses or cavalry, we can easily calculate, and that person got this particular rank. His salary will be this particular amount like that. Okay, so this system is known as Mansabdari system. Then do you know what is the idea behind this policy? We discussed that Mughal dynasty, they kept a well-equipped, well-qualified army under their control. But to keep this army, it was a great burden for each and every dynasty, because they have to give enough food, they have to give salary like that. So it's a great burden. So to reduce that burden, Akbar introduced a policy, it is known as Mansabdari. Clear? So under this control, each people, that means Akbar invited different sections of the people to become which position? Mansab. If that people are ready to stand the position of Mansab, it is their duty to maintain each and every army or to give food and accommodation of that particular group of people or that particular group of horses or cavalry like that. So it is not the duty of the Akbar to keep that particular amount of army. Okay, so by keeping this army, Akbar gets support from this Mansabs, but Akbar has no responsibility among this group of people or this group of army. Okay, so by implementing this activity, Akbar got a lot of financial protection or financial help from which group of people? From this Mansab. Clear? Clear? So this system is known as Mansabdari system. So Mansabdari system offered or provided a lot of financial help to which ruler? Akbar. Clear? Then there are two types of Mansabdari system. There were two subparts. That part is known as, first one Sat, another one Savar. Sat and Savar were the two subdivisions of Mansabdari system. Sat and Savar were the two subdivisions of Mansab. Okay, so Sat belonged to individual and Savar belonged to the position or salary. So please note this. Okay, so if we see a person who is belong to Savar, we can understand what is his salary or what is his position. Clear? So please note which are the two subdivisions of which system? Mansabdari system. Which are they? First one Sat and another one Savar. Okay, so Savar means what? By looking or by observing Savar, we can easily understand how many horses or how many cavalry kept this particular group of people. And Sat is a particular person and we can understand what is his salary, like that. Okay, so these are the subdivisions of Mansabdari system. Okay, so please note all these points. Over. Now we are going to study the last part of Mughal administration, that is Jagirdari system. Jagirdari system you discussed or we studied in your previous classes. That means I think in your 6th standard you studied about Ikta system and Jagirdari system. Ikta system, what is that? Yes, providing land to the officers instead of cash. Okay, that is implemented by Sultanate rulers. Jagirdari system is the same condition. That means you know that what is Mansabdari system. So each Mansab, they didn't get cash for their salary. They got some particular plot of land instead of their cash, or we can say instead of their salary. Such a system is known as Jagirdari system. Okay, so what is Jagirdari system? Mughal rulers, especially Akbar, implemented this policy. According to this policy, each Mansab gets salary not in cash, but they will get what? Some plots of land. Okay, so this system is known as what? A Jagirdari system. So instead of cash, they will get land. Okay, but the king do not give the ownership right of this particular land to the Jagirdar. But the king only give the possession right. That means they can cultivate there, they can collect tax from there and they can use that cash for the development of that particular place. Clear? And they can live by taking some profit from that area. But they do not get any ownership right. That means they can't sell that particular plot of land to any other person. Okay, and this Jagirdari system was not a traditional one. If the king do not want that particular Jagirdar, the king can shift that person from one place to another. Okay, so these are the important ideas about a Jagirdari system. Okay, so these are the important policies or important points related with the Mughal administration. So study very well and it is the time to wind up here. So I am going to stop here. Thank you.